We mentioned Chase Edmonds, Matt. He lands in Miami, 2-year deal, fringe starter money. They're expecting him to be a big part of their offense, it appears.
Yeah, I like Chase Edmonds in Miami. It's just he has a similar pass catching skill set as correct me if I'm wrong. Is Myles Gaskin not going to be there anymore? I can't remember off the top of my head. But if
he's
it is
under
that
contract.
So if he's there with him, I mean, I feel like it's going to be a committee situation again. Maybe he is the lead back, but he's going to cede some of that pass catching work to Myles Gaskin, which is the best part of his game. If we talked about before, they bring in a running back. That seems unlikely now, especially considering how Miami has treated the running back position the last several years. But, just in a vacuum, I like the fit just fine. I kind of like what Miami's been doing this offseason.
And running back 33, Ryan, 98 overall in DLF ranks. That it seems like a sideways move as far as his dynasty value is concerned.
I think we could see him gain a little bit of value here, especially over the next month or so. But I would not be surprised if they did spend a pick on Kenneth Walker or a running back like that. Of course, McDaniel has the connection with guys like Raheem Mostert. I mean, a Mostert Edmonds combo would be interesting as well. I think Gaskin is probably getting cut.
James Conner re-signed in Arizona right after the Edmonds news broke. 3 years, $21 million. So starter money for James Conner, Ryan. He comes in at running back 30 in our ranks, 88 overall. Certainly feels like the Cardinals see him as their bell cow running back for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think so. And it's just going to be interesting what they do alongside or behind James Conner there. Do they bring in another Chase Edmonds type? Has Eno Benjamin earned that role? In the background, we didn't get to see much of him, but does he get a larger shot? So we'll see what they add to Conner, but I love the combo of these signings because there's a good chance, a lot of dynasty managers over the past year had both of these guys on their roster, and maybe you were making tough decisions each week, but right now you have two guys who gained some pretty nice value today. So you've got to figure out how to take advantage of that.
Until Arizona spends a second-round pick on a running
back
exactly. A month. Wide receivers. This is where the biggest news or really noteworthy move was made, maybe eye-popping news. Christian Kirk, Jacksonville, 4 years, $72 million, could get up to $84 million. He is paid, Ryan, like a top 10 NFL wide receiver. Tell me about it.
I mean, my thoughts are probably the same as everyone else. I don't get it. I mentioned on another podcast, maybe this is just a case of Jacksonville having to overpay players to come there simply because of their recent struggles. I mean, they've been active, so you like to see that. But I mean, if Kirk maxes out this deal, and I mean, does anybody really think he will? But if Kirk maxes out this deal, now it's not top 10 wide receiver money. Now it's top 3 wide receiver money.
Well, if he maxes out the deal, that means Jacksonville got a great deal. That means he's playing like one of the top wide receivers in the NFL and not cut in a few years. I think the biggest move from a dynasty standpoint might be the Brandon Scherf addition. A little bit of protection up front for Lawrence and the rest of these guys. That offense in general, something they needed so much. DLF rank 97, wide receiver 43. That's certain to go up just because of the money.
This is why bad teams stay bad. This signing right here.
It certainly seems that
way.
I
mean, you've got a group of Kirk. DJ Chark is a free agent. So we assume he's gone. But Kirk, Marvin Jones, Chenault, and Zay Jones, who they just added. So, I mean, that's quite the group, right? None of those guys, while they're talented, none of those feel like that imposing type wide receiver that's really going to bully the defense and make the plays.
Everything I read seems to point to NFL evaluators, NFL clubs thinking Christian Kirk is a way better receiver than what fantasy players how we value him. Now, those guys can see future and see potential inside of an offense and see things, maybe misuse. And we see production, straight up production. And there wasn't enough of it to garner such a huge contract. I remember Christian Kirk coming out 4 years ago, Matt. I was excited about his upside. I thought he had a high ceiling. He hasn't come close to what even the biggest supporters thought he could be.
I'm still fine with Christian Kirk. It's just the money and the spot. Like, it's a team full of slot receivers, and then you add Travis Etienne, who's probably going to play some of that role too, and then you have Marvin Jones on the outside, especially if Chark is gone, right? So I just don't know where he fits. Is Christian Kirk all of a sudden going to be a dominant outside receiver? I think we have seen him be able to play that role, some in Arizona and certainly some in college, but obviously his best fit is in the slot. So I just really don't know where he fits in this offense.
Michael Gallup re-signed in Dallas despite the injury, Ryan. 5 years, $62.5 million. There's a waiting period before he can get back on the field, but clearly Jerry and company, they're in love with Michael Gallup. Wide receiver 44 in our ranks. Amari Cooper is gone. Do you see him moving up?
It's a tough one because of that injury, and there's kind of some conflicting reports when he will actually or likely be back on the field, but it sounds like it's going to be a pup appearance for Michael Gallup. So because of that, I don't think he sees a major bump. Even though Cooper is gone, Cedric Wilson is gone. That leads me to think that the Dallas is going to add a wide receiver probably in the draft, and depending on who that is or how early of a pick they use, we could be talking about Gallup losing value because of the injury and now more competition.
And that's the thing about it is Gallup is at 44, Christian Kirk at 43. And these guys, you want to say, wow, that like maybe that can help it. But when you go look at those rankings, you see guys directly above them like Rondale Moore, Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hunter Renfrow, Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas, and Tyler Lockett. Well, yeah, maybe they can jump a couple of these guys. But then when you factor in this rookie class, who is going to take surges, is going to jump into this class and suddenly be in that top 25. There's just not a lot of room for these guys to move up drastically. Amari Cooper ends up getting traded to Dallas from Dallas, to Cleveland. Matt, I'm terrified here.
I'm not really. Like, I keep seeing that
nice
sentiment. And I understand Baker's obviously a gigantic down, or whoever, if Baker's not there, is probably a huge downgrade from Dak Prescott. But I think he goes from being, he was the number one in name, but we really know that CeeDee Lamb was the one the last two seasons, right? So he goes from being the two to the clear one. If Jarvis Landry moves on, he's the guy. As long as he's healthy, as long as the quarterback's going to get him the ball, I think the volume he's going to see is going to be pretty dramatically increased from what he saw in Dallas, at least in 2021. So I feel like it's more of a lateral move from a fantasy standpoint. From an NFL standpoint, I think obviously a downgrade.
Is this a situation, Ryan, where production is probably going to outweigh where he is in ranks, where he is in ADP, because he's that number one guy, even in a situation that we don't necessarily love?
That's what I'm trying to tell myself.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not sure if I
usually want to buy those kind of guys, but here I'm turned off, man.
Like, forget who it is. Do you want Cleveland's wide receiver one? And
Not recently,
right, until they make a move at quarterback, because I just don't trust Baker Mayfield. Until they make a change there, that's not a passing offense I want to invest in. That's why I was disappointed that David Njoku got the franchise tag. Cooper is already another player who was losing value. Wide receiver 29, 62 overall in our rankings. So this is not even a situation where you can say sell high, before it's too late. It's already too late. It already was too late. Now you're just hoping that he can live up to that ranking.